The United States men's national team released its roster for this last CONCACAF Nations League window of this 2023 campaign. And overall, I thought it was a very good roster. Lots of the 18 guys, but also some very exciting faces like Joe Scally, Ricardo Pepi, Taylor Booth, and so on. So we're going to be going over that roster, what we like, what we don't like, and how it's going to pan out for these games. So yeah, let's get straight into that roster. But before you do, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. So let's go. Alright, before getting into the roster, taking a quick look at the table, we are 1 point behind El Salvador with a match in hand. So really all we need is one win and one draw to get us through. But at the end of the day, both of these games should be pretty comfortable, and we should win both these games pretty easily. But let's go into that roster. So in goal, we have Matt Turner, Ethan Horvath, and Dak Steff. And overall, I think these are very solid picks. I think Slanina is going to go with the U20s for this camp, and that makes a lot of sense. And then Sean Johnson seems like he's going to be a part of that domestic camp in April against Mexico. So these are the next three best options. Matt Turner is the undisputed number one. And then you have Ethan Horvath and Zach Steffen, who are playing quite well in the championship right now for their respective clubs in Town and Middlesbrough. Maybe one of these two will get a game in this window, but we'll see how it kind of pans out. But glad to see Zach Steffen back, even though I'm not super huge on him. But a good goalkeeper selection in my opinion. Alright, in our outside backs, we have Anthony Robinson, Serginho Dest, Joe Scally, and Brian Reynolds. I am very happy with these four picks. I was expecting one of Tolkien or Dewan Jones to be called up, but because of the MLS camp in April against Mexico, none of these guys were going to be there anyway, so I guess this makes a lot of sense. I do think Joe Scally is going to be a left back, and I'm very interested to see kind of how these minutes are distributed among these four players. Maybe all four of these guys start one game, who knows, maybe two against Granada, two against El Salvador. But I do want to see Dest get a lot of minutes, kind of get him back to where he needs to be because he's not in the best spot right now. Very happy with Joe Scally being called up. Hasn't really played a lot for the national team in the past year. Definitely deserves more than what he's gotten. And Brian Reynolds has played very good for Westerlo. And Belgium definitely deserves another look with the USMNT national team. Still just 21. I still think has a very high ceiling. So very happy with these four outside backs being called up to this camp. Alright, looking at our center backs, we have Tim Ream, Miles Robinson, Austin Trusty, and Mark McKenzie. So the initial four, I don't really have a problem with either of these four. I think they're all like decently good. Tim Ream especially is playing really well for Fulham right now, deserves to be here. Mark McKenzie as well. I'm okay with Miles Robinson being back because he's had the ACL injury, so we kind of want to see what he has to offer, although you would expect him to be in that domestic camp in April. Austin Trusty, another left-footed center back, playing pretty well in the championship. I'm not as high on him as a lot of other people are, but the thing for me is I would have liked to seen Cameron Carter-Vickers and Chris Richards. Now, I know Chris Richards might not be exactly 100%, but he's still a huge piece for this upcoming cycle, and he definitely should have been here. I think he definitely could have played 90 minutes in one of these games for sure. So I don't know if he didn't get called up or there was some injury problems he had and his club didn't release him. So we'll see kind of how that pans out in the next few days. Cameron Carter-Vickers is healthy. He has been playing for Celtic for the past few weeks, so I don't know why he wasn't off this roster. I think his performance against Iran in the World Cup was good enough to show me that he can't compete with the national team. I do think he's definitely better than Robinson, Trusty, and Mark McKenzie. So I'm not really too happy about that. But I still don't mind any of these four center backs as well. I think they're all decent in their own rights. Alright, so it seems the only 6 in this camp is Johnny Cardoso, and it's kind of weird because he's really more of an 8 than a 6. But Tyler Adams getting hurt this week didn't really help, and Kelvin Acosta is going to be in the domestic camp in April against Mexico. So we'll kind of see how these midfield spots pan out if Hudson maybe elects to play with a double pivot or just a single pivot. I do expect Cardoso to start at least one of these games, probably in Granada though. Alright, and on to our center mids, we have Weston McKennie, Yunus Musa, Brendan Aronson, Luca De La Torre, and Alan Sonora. So McKennie, Musa, I expect them to be starters. I'm going to be interested to see if Musa or McKennie does get some minutes either in a pivot or at the 6 by themselves. Brendan Aronson, not necessarily in the best form, but still deserves to be here. Now, I do think he's probably going to be playing for the midfield because this is where he's listed, and we're kind of short on those. We have plenty of wingers. Luca De La Torre, another great call-up. Really happy because he's been playing really well for Celta de Vigo, and I would love to play him in that El Salvador game on a nice pitch where we're going to have a lot of the ball. Alan Sonora, I think he's a fine player, has some good qualities, but I'm just not super high on him. I would have rather called up a guy like Georgi Mihailovic. I think he just deserved it more. But we'll see how it goes out. I do expect Sonora probably to play in that Granada game and Brendan Aronson as well. So a small midfield group, but still plenty of talent, but very interesting as well. I would have liked to see Georgi Mihailovic for sure. Alright, in our wingers, we have Christian Pulisic, Tim Weah, Gio Reyna, Taylor Booth, and Alex Sendeja. So overall, a pretty solid group. I don't know how much Pulisic is going to play in this camp. I assume he's going to start the game against El Salvador. but we'll see. Tim White is listed as an attacker, and I am very glad because he needs to be playing right wing for us and not left back or right back. Gio Reyna is back in the national team. Kind of glad the drama might be out of the way. I do want him to play in the midfield, but if he does play in the wing, I think that's fine, but we'll see how that goes. Taylor Booth is a great call-up, playing really well right now. Finally glad he's getting his opportunity. Can also play in the midfield as well, and I do expect him to start at least one of these games. The last one was Alex Andejas, who committed to the national team earlier this week, and I'm glad. I think it's a good depth piece to have. I'm not super high on him like a lot of people are. I still think there's better options. I think Paredes is going to be better than him in the shortcoming. I would have also liked to see Georgi Mihailovic, even if it was as a midfielder or a winger. But I'm not too upset with Alex Andejas. Maybe he does get some minutes off the bench for one or two of these games. But overall, a really solid group from out wide. And finally, on to our strikers, we have Ricardo Pepi and Daryl DK. So I'm going to assume that these guys are going to be splitting the 2 games, each getting a start respectively. So we'll see how that pans out. DK scoring a lot with West Brom, same with Ricardo Pepi and Groningen. Really like these 2 call-ups, and I think both these guys definitely deserve it. Now, I don't really know what happened with Sargent. I think he's close to 100% fit. Maybe Norwich didn't want to release him. I don't know, but if it wasn't Hudson, I'm not going to be too happy with that because I think Sargent deserved to be here. But I obviously know there's some injury implications with that as well. So I think these are 2 solid calls for the strikers, and we'll kind of see how they develop and do throughout the rest of the season and going into next season as well. Anyway, guys, that's going to wrap it up for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Overall, I thought it was a very good roster. It was always going to be European heavy, considering that next month we're going to have a domestic camp against Mexico. So hopefully we can win that game with those domestic players. But yeah, I really like this group. I really like the additions of Joe Scally, Brian Reynolds, Ricardo Pepi, and Taylor Booth. Guys who I think can definitely be mainstays for this national team moving forward. And they're getting the opportunity to show what they can do. Very happy with that. Also a very strong A-team side for the most part, minus the injury of Tyler Adams. I'm not really happy about the omissions of Josh Sargent and Chris Richards. I know they might not be 100% fit, but they definitely still should have been in this camp with the group because those are 2 players I think definitely should be with this group moving forward and have a lot of talent and something to offer. Also not huge with their Cameron Carter-Vickers omission. I know he was 100% healthy for sure and should have gotten in over either Austin Trusty or Miles Robinson. But yeah, like I said, a good roster overall. Make sure to those comments down below. Tell me your thoughts on this roster, what you like and what you don't like. So yeah, I'll try and have a video out next week on my lineup I want to use against Granada in that first Nations League game on Friday. So yeah, window coming up soon. Very excited, looking forward to it. So yeah, I will see you guys next time. Thank you guys so much for watching.